2. Fazli Rabbi, Innkeeper. Jalalabad, Afghanistan, June 8th. That night, Mariam slept in the women's section of the Jalalabad caravanserai. She had a bed next to a muffled figure who had also recently arrived. In the morning, the woman said, "Madam, excuse my impertinence. My name is Karima. I am looking for a man called Kush, the eagle. Do you know where I might find him? I know sarais always have information. There isn't one near Kabul now." That was what, people whispered, the Mujahideen called their hideouts. In Karima's home village, she remembered, people always went to the sarai, the local halting place and inn for travellers, if they wanted information about anything or anyone. Now she could only remember having heard about the one at Jalalabad, 145 kilometres from Kabul, and had taken the bus there, in the opposite direction from that of the Eagle's headquarters. Mariam looked at the other woman, trying to work out what she meant. The Eagle? Well, there were plenty of dotty old dames ranging up and down the country, and they said the strangest things. "No," she said, "I'm afraid that is something I have never heard of." The timid, bundled-up old woman and her young, sophisticated sister seemed to have nothing in common. Yet each had had the experience of sending an enemy of their people to his death, and their paths would cross again. Karima called out, almost in anguish, "Oh, how can I find the great eagle, my sisters?" The other women, sitting or lying in the dormitory, simply looked at her, expressionless. Then one of them, who had heard the servant's first words to Mariam and had scuttled away, drawing her veil across her face, was back, tugging at Karima's sleeve. "Who are you, mother? Never talk before strangers about the eagle. It is dangerous." "I have to find him. I am Karima from Turkestan and Kabul. He does not know me, but I want to join him." The other woman, who had the wiry frame and weather-beaten face of a mountain shepherdess, said, "You stay here. It may be for a day or two. If he wants to see you, he'll send a message. Just stay in the sarai and listen. Never mention his name. If anyone asks, say that you are a traveller looking for work." "Thank you, sister," Karima said. "I understand." She turned away and started to make her bed. The other woman touched her arm. "Are you in trouble?" "Mumkin, possibly. I have killed 2 of the Rus, important ones, Shiravis, communists." "That is enough. Never mention that to anyone. If you have problems, ask for Inayat, the proprietor's wife." She ran out. A moment later, Mariam saw her through the window, hurrying away, perched on a tiny donkey. Mariam had a bath, put on her jeans, t-shirt and tank top, and went in search of information. She found a door marked Daftar, office, knocked and went in. The owner of the sarai, a huge, middle-aged, muscular frontierman, greeted her affably in his office-cum-sitting room, bare of all furniture except for a rifle, some rugs, and a couple of long sofas. He was sitting in the middle of one, back to the wall. He gestured to the place opposite, inviting her to sit. It was much hotter here than in Kabul, and somehow the whole atmosphere was different. It was Pashtun land. "May you not be tired," the ancient greeting. "May you not be sad," the standard answer. He looked at her without curiosity, like a benevolent brigand, which she was quite prepared to believe he was. Pashtuns usually take people as they come. "Dodai? Bread?" He offered her a piece of unleavened bread, torn from a selection of elephant ear flaps nailed haphazardly on the wooden wall behind him, and gestured towards some cheese and salt. then cup after cup of sweet green tea made from water boiling in a huge samovar. Miriam decided to confide in him. She took a small piece of bread, sprinkled salt on it, divided it into two as he watched, and handed one half to him. He took it at once, held it for a moment as if making up his mind, and then chewed and swallowed it. Very well, we have shared bread and salt. What help do you want, maiden? The bread and salt bond was inviolable. From now on, the Pashtun was bound to defend her, even at the cost of his own life. She would have to be treated exactly as if she was of his own family. Namak haram, unfaithful to one's salt, was one of the 3 worse epithets which could be hurled at an Afghan. It ranked just below haramzada, bastard, and just above kafir, infidel. Such an insult could be wiped out only by blood. The Pashtuns looked down on people from effete Kabul, and Miriam's accent told that she was from the capital. Although the innkeeper had accepted her salt, she would do well to establish an affinity with him too, but obliquely would be the best way. I am from Kabul. Things are bad there. That is why I am here. What do you need? I need help to get across the border to the Pashtuns there. What is your tribe, and what is your name, and whose daughter are you? I am a traveller. The phrase is used by people in the East to denote a reluctance to explain themselves much further. The innkeeper was not, however, content to accept the traditional formula. A traveller. Is there purse or pal, questioning and searching for you? And what Pashtuns do you seek? The Yusufzai, the Joseph-born. You are of the Yusufzai? I am of the Bani Israel. But, light of my eyes, so are we all. That is what the Afghans are. Miriam had laughed many years ago when her parents told her that the Pashtun people swore they were the direct and legitimate descendants of the people of Israel. That was when she was about 9 or 10. By the time she was 15, she had become deeply interested in this history, or legend, or whatever it really was. She had, in fact, done 7 years' study on the question since then, for her own personal interest. She had started at the library of the Pohantun, Kabul University, where she had surprised the librarian by asking to see the Jewish encyclopedia. She had looked up Afghanistan in Volume 1 of the edition of 1901. There it was, the history of the Pashtuns according to their own law. Afghan tradition traces their descent from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. The Tabakati Naziri says that the Bani Israel settled in the country of Ghor, southeast of Herat, carried there by Bakhtanasar, Nebuchadnezzar. And there were plenty of graves in the area of southwest Afghanistan with Hebrew inscriptions, even if they were later than Nebuchadnezzar. The people had long locks of hair. They named their home mountain range the Solomon Mountains, and there were still Jews, practicing ones in Herat and elsewhere in the country. The fact was that some 10 or 12 million people, many of them bearing Old Testament names, Isaac, Israel, David, Suleiman, and the rest, make up the Pashtun tribes. They form the majority of the people of Afghanistan itself, and to the east their territory extends from Kashmir in the north to the Arabian Sea in the south. They insist that they are the descendants of one Afghana, commander of the armies of Solomon, son of David. Their oral traditions are recorded in the standard work, the Afghan Treasury. A very large number, probably a majority of the Pashtuns would cut the throat of anyone who expressed absolute disbelief in their claim. Since the Bani Israel descent is rooted in the complex but detailed genealogical charts which show both the origins and the relationships of the tribes, the whole question is still an extremely live issue. To deny anyone's ancestry is unthinkable or fatal. Miriam had read both the treasury and the many books, often written by Westerners who had served in India, supporting or opposing the theory. Most of these, largely British, writers were as fanatically for or against the story as the Pashtuns themselves were addicted to it. For Miriam, something which seized the imagination to this extent was in itself a source of wonderment. I am Fazli Rabbi of the Mohmand clan, and we are cousins of the Yusufzais. I shall take you myself to the Khan, who is a direct descendant of David, the king of the Bani Israel, in the transborder country of the mountains. Thank you. My name is Miriam, and I seek sanctuary and protection with the people of David. I am oppressed by the Rus. Ha Fironi Ramusa, for every pharaoh there is a Moses, said the Pashtun. But it is not seemly that we should travel alone, a man and a woman, whatever they may do in Kabul and places like that. He disappeared through a door into the rooms which made up his private part of the sarai, and came out again with a tall, handsome woman of middle age, dressed in a waistcoat, woolly jumper, and baggy trousers with a green skirt over them. This is Inayat, my wife. As you know, Inayat means blessing, and she will be a blessing to you as she is to me. She will teach you the language of the real people. Miriam took her hand and laughed. The real people spoke Pashto, of course. So far, she and Fazli Rabbi had been speaking Dari, which had only a small number of Pashto words in it. Inayat handed Miriam a silk outfit like her own. But who will look after the sarai? And how will we get over the Pakistan border? I have no passport. Miriam could still hardly believe that all this was happening. She had heard of it, of course, but actually living through it was different. Here was a total stranger, leaving his home and business, breaking the law, to take an unknown person into tribal territory just because she said that she needed help. Miriam shook her head as if to clear it. Passport, massport. He used the Eastern derision rhyme to show his contempt for small details. I have never even seen one. Never mind about that. Border? We don't recognize the border. We are a free people, and that British-drawn border cuts the Pashtun land in two. As for the Sarai Marais, I'll show you. Fazli Rabbi put two huge hands to his mouth and shouted, O Asil! O Palang! Asil and Palang, who came running, rifles in hand and turban ends across their mouths, were two strapping youths, over 6 foot tall, Fazli Rabbi's sons, who might have been any age from 17 to 30. Like their father and mother, they had massive, muscular frames and grey-green eyes. The Mohmand warriors were among the most feared on the whole frontier. Together with the redoubtable Afridi clan, they dominated the Khyber Pass area. Fazli Rabbi explained that he was initiating his sons into the mysteries of the catering and hotel business, as practiced in the Fazli Rabbi caravanserai on the Jalalabad road.